The creation of this organization came after former BlackBerry executive Jim Balsillie met with some of Canada's big tech giants and told them they need to be doing a much better job of working with Parliament Hill. The Canadian Council of Innovators now has Mr. Balsillie as its chairman and Omer's Ventures CEO, John Ruffalo, as its vice chair. Literally, the who's who of Canada's tech scene are members of this group, and I spoke with its executive director, Bergen, and talk about that ominous meeting that led to the creation.
So I think that that may be part of the seeds that were planted, but I think it really was that relationship between Jim Balsillie and John Ruffalo that felt that needed to happen, that really helped act as the catalyst to get the council off the ground.
So as you said, it came together on kind of the stock options issues, but it's certainly grown since then. How would you characterize as kind of the top three issues that tech is really trying to push, especially ahead of the federal budget this year?
So the big three things that we advocate for are access to talent, access to customers, and access to capital. And so that's how we sort of align all of our priorities when we're engaging with the federal government. So on an access to talent side, one of the things that we've been really influential in pushing forward has been the global skills strategy. So we've worked closely with the ministers, but also the civil service, to make sure that they understand the needs of high-growth Canadian technology companies, and that the program that they're about to put in place, the two-week turnaround visa process for highly skilled workers, really meets the demands and the needs to grow Canadian technology companies.
And are you getting a sense of that issue, especially the skills shortage, which we know we saw the tech community in Canada come together so quickly, especially in light of the travel ban in the United States? Where are we in that process? Have we really moved the needle to a place where we're actually solving that problem? The policies in place right now, that two-week acceleration, solves the problem?
Canadian high-growth technology companies need highly skilled talent. We know that there's a shortage of 220,000 positions that will not be filled by 2020 in a 2015 study. And so the policy that the government is putting forward in the global skills strategy, which we've helped advocate, will help move the needle for sure. It will allow Canadian technology companies to access the talent that they need abroad in a two-week turnaround time period. Currently, it's between 10 to 12 months, depending on the applicant. So that speed will really help make it more attractive for potential talent to come to Canada and begin helping to grow our economy.
And on that access to capital, we've certainly seen a lot of new funds get launched. I think Omer's is working on its third fund. You have that business growth fund that was launched by 10 of Canada's financial institutions. How much have we moved, even just in a year, on making sure that Canadian companies are adequately capitalized?
So the big thing in the federal budget that we're looking for, and which we've been doing some advocacy around, is the $800 million cluster fund that was announced in last year's budget, but none of that money has begun to flow. So we're obviously wanting high-growth firms to be at the center of that cluster funding, because that's how, in the commercialization process that high-growth firms do, that is how you're able to grow that $800 million into $8 billion.
If you had one wish sorry, keep going.
No, and so to continue that sort of thread, it's obviously helping. That would help move the needle if those funds were allocated towards high growth firms.
So when you're looking down towards the federal budget, if you had one grand wish, what do you hope to see?
So the big thing that the council advocates for is relationship with government, and the big advocacy piece of CCI is actually creating engagement between top high-growth firms and the federal government. So our big wish would be obviously continued more engagement with the federal government on policies that they're looking to implement across the ecosystem. If we want to have a really successful innovation economy like they have in the United States or in Israel or in South Korea, government and business work hand in glove. And they meet often, and they meet regularly about the challenges that are facing the ecosystem. So the big wish that I would want is that obviously this dialogue continues, and that we work together to build a prosperous innovation economy.
Ben, thanks so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you so much.